Mike Tyson did an interview for Details magazine. And normally I don't care about Mike Tyson, but what I loved about this interview is the fact that he was extremely candid, and he was really hard on himself.
I think he's been extremely candid and really hard on himself for like the last decade.
Really?
Yeah, I like Mike Tyson.
I feel like in this interview, he really goes all out with it, though. In this interview, you almost want to give the guy a hug, but cautiously, because you don't know what he's going to do. But I want to read you some of the answers that he gave the interviewer that I found the most interesting. First, they ask him, 20 years ago, you were one of the most famous men on the planet. Is there a big plan for Act 2? And this is his answer. The first stage of my life was just a whole bunch of selfishness, just a whole bunch of gifts to myself and people who didn't necessarily deserve it. Now I'm 44 and I realize that my whole life is just a fucking waste. Greatest man on the planet? I wasn't half the man I thought I was. So if there's a big plan now, it's just to give. It's selflessness, caring for people who deserve it. Because I think I'm a pig. I have this uncanny ability to look at myself in the mirror and say, this is a pig. You're a fucking piece of shit.
Fucking right on, Mike Tyson.
No, but I feel bad for him. Like, that doesn't sound healthy. You see what I'm saying? It's a good thing to have some humility, and it's a good thing to be...
He's been like, he was on the top of the world when he was like 22 years old. He was dating movie stars and everything else. They took him for a ride. They took his money. He got in fights. He fucked up. And now he's old enough and he looks back and he goes, man, I was stupid.
It's one thing to say you're stupid. It's another thing to say, look in the mirror every single day and say, I'm a fucking piece of shit. I'm worthless. I'm a pig. And that's different. I mean, everyone has their regrets in the past. Everyone deals with it in different ways. But I think he should calm down a little bit. Like, I want to give him a pat on the back and tell him it's going to be okay.
No, I like Mike Tyson. Mm-hmm. He recognizes that he's not all that, which none of us are. So it's like...
I have a little more of the interview for you. The interviewer asks him, how did it feel when you realized the life you'd built from the ground up at age 12 had come to an end? Was it a revelation, a relief? And he answers and says, it's just a simple question of humility. If you're not humble, life will visit humbleness upon you. I'm a really damaged human being, and it's still such a struggle, but I'm going to fight till the end this time. That's a good answer. That answer I like.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the point when more people started understanding, because, you know, he had all the rape stuff back in the day and the beatings and the domestic violence, all that stuff. When his daughter died, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, that freak accident in the house, like, it's hard to say anything else bad about the guy. I mean, life has been beating his ass, you know? He had a successful...
For 20 years it's been beating his ass.
Yeah, and even when he looked like he was on top.
Even when right after he was on top, it was just like, you went through fucking hell.
People used him, you know, took advantage of him. The guy has not had an easy life, you know. For the money he made and then lost, I mean, nobody wants to trade that. It's a pretty bad situation. So after all that, then you know, what else do you have but to understand how bad it's been? And actually, no, and I've thought about that after that happened. I said, man, I really hope he can have a way of rebounding but I don't know how anymore when you're 44 and your profession is boxing, you know.
The career aside, man, losing a child, that's got to be the worst thing in the world that could happen no matter what, and I'm sure he's never going to be the same after that.
Yeah, like, you know, the whole broke thing, I just hope he can do something or get something back. You know, he was, you know, he made a cameo part in that movie, Hangover.
Right.
And it's little stuff like that, but then what can he do? You know, you wonder what this guy can do to live a normal life. Or something where he's not always struggling with something, or everything he does, people are criticizing.
He can't necessarily ever live a normal life unless he's going to coach boxing or do something boxing related for kids or youth groups or something else. I mean,
it reminds me a little bit about the Wrestler, that movie, where after a while he was just a washed-up wrestler, and what is he going to do? What is he going to do to make money? At one time he was this great big famous guy, and now he's nothing. So how do you?
But that's like any famous person. Look, I think everyone kind of gets their time in the sun at some point in their life. And some people peak when they're early and some people peak when they're later. But most of them, when they peak when they're early, if you go back from child stars to musicians to everything else, man, once they reach their 30s and 40s, it's like it's over for most of them. And they'll never put it back together again.
Right, and the biggest downfall of fame is always the fact that you're going to get demoted.
Yeah, but think about all those people who never got any of that anyway, and were out there trying to do all that stuff too. I mean, it's a fickle business.
Right, absolutely. One more answer that I liked. The interviewer asked him, how long were you out of prison before you felt like you were actually free? He says, never, not till now, really. This is the freest I've ever felt in my life, and I'm still not free. But it's an awesome feeling. I got no money. I'm not a glamour guy anymore. I got friends who've got money, so it looks like I've got money, but I don't. All the money I had, forget it. I never had anything, never had a stitch on me, and felt like freedom. But to have somebody by your side, win, lose, or draw. My wife's lived with me in places I wouldn't take a shit in. I wouldn't be a prostitute in some of the places my wife and I slept in. So I think that's an amazing answer. It's amazing that his wife stayed with him through that.
It is.
Because I'm going to admit, a lot of women wouldn't do that.